Batman's Log, October 3rd, 2004. It is the same day as my previous log. So much has happened in such a short time. I'm not exactly sure what the issue with this town is. Could it be Scarecrow's doing? If his toxin was in the air, my cowl's sensors would have picked it up. I seem to be going through what seem to be hallucinations, but if they're not, then I fear I have made a grave mistake by coming here alone. Currently, I am secluded in a tree just outside of the main town on my way to Celine's Manor. I will try to recount the strange events leading up to this as cohesively as I can. Last log ended when I heard what sounded like the screech of Dr. Kirk Langstrom in his bat-like transformed state in the distance outside of the hotel room I woke up in. I checked outside the window. The street seemed to glow with some sort of orange light, but the mist outside obscured the details as to just what that glow was coming from. The sky was even more obscure. The thick fog allowed the illumination of the sun to only paint the sky white with no horizon. In the whiteness, a large shadow appeared to move in and out of view. I assumed it to be the man-bat, searching the skyline through echolocation. I figured that his appearance in close proximity made that moment my best chance to catch him and hopefully transform him into a human again. Then he'd be able to give me answers. I quickly ran over to open the door of the hotel room and get to the Batmobile, where I packed a shot of Langstrom's antidote. Upon opening the door, I was met with a long, constricting hallway with dim lamps lighting the way. My room was at the end of the hall, with no turns left nor right. It was opulent, decorated with a 1920s Art Deco style. Small, unlit crystal chandeliers lined the ceiling. The end of the hall seemed to stretch into the darkness. Expecting some kind of trap, I walked ahead carefully. I checked every door I walked past, just in case there may be some clue as to why I was drawn to this hotel, but every door was locked. Though nothing was picked up by any of my equipment, I just couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching my every move. The blood-red carpet lining the floor contrasted the natural wood walls, almost seeming to be deliberate in its eerie appearance. I must have been more tired than I thought to think it looked like the comforting halls of Wayne Manor yesterday. As I went on into this seemingly never-ending hotel, I finally reached a right turn. On the other side seemed to be some kind of small communal area with some chairs and desks. In the chair, on the wall of the opposite side of the room, there seemed to be a man sitting perfectly still. I waited for him to make the first move, but there was nothing. I got closer to see that this figure was nothing more than a stuffed scarecrow positioned in a chair. It wasn't Jonathan Crane. It was just a normal scarecrow. Well, normal in most aspects. On close inspection, the eyes appeared wet. They were indeed human eyes sewn into a scarecrow. This surprised me. Crane has always been macabre, but he's never been much of a killer nor mutilator. He's always just been doing unethical research and experiments on fear. Before I could ponder the meaning of this disturbing revelation, I heard something move behind me. I turned, ready to meet whatever threat came my way. The air sat still and silent for a long moment before I saw something poke from around the corner. A black, shiny tail flickered about around the turn before a bizarre creature decided to show itself. First, it took its time, leading in just one human-like female leg in a high stiletto boot. I could see black fur beginning to emerge from the knee. It let through its whole body and turned to face me. Black cat fur ran up its body from the knees up. It was wearing a bondage girdle that left little to the imagination with its mostly woman-like form. The head was like that of an unfinished fusion of a human and a cat, covered with fur, its ears sticking up to either side, and a feline mouth that bore fangs, but there were no eyes. Worse yet, past the elbows, it had no arms. Instead, a whip took the place in each socket. It was such a horrendous sight. That even I was given pause by the dread. It took that opportunity to rush in and pounce at me. I was able to dodge out of the way, but then it began to speak. "Hurt me," it said in a shocking voice. It spoke with the voice of Selina Kyle, the Catwoman, whom I have had a relationship with in the past. "Hurt me plenty," it hissed at me. Faster than I anticipated, it swung the whips at me with powerful strikes. My cape was able to deflect some of them, but I got hit plenty of times. I was knocked back by the sheer force of these hits, until I took my chance at retaliation. I managed to grab onto one of the whips, wrapped it around my arm, and tugged the creature toward me. With all my strength, I landed a right swing into its face. "Oh, you're hurting me," it wailed in the voice of a distressed Selina. "You're hurting me." "Selina," I blurted out in worry, realizing that this may be a hallucination caused by fear toxin to get me and Selina to fight each other. "Selina, can you hear me?" "Hurt me," it uttered using Selina's seductive tone. "Hurt me plenty." It jumped up and tried to bite at me, but I pushed it off. I turned around the whip, but I had to close the distance. I began to land a series of coordinated strikes with my fist. Certain that this wasn't Selena, I finally ended it by throwing it against the wall and landing a strong kick to its head, knocking it unconscious. "Why?" Selena's voice cried out from its mouth in agony as it slid to the ground. It was the most bizarre fight of my life. That creature was unlike anything I had ever encountered in Gotham. And that voice, it's almost as if it was taunting me, purposefully designed to mess with my emotions by making me feel like I was fighting my former lover. I felt sick for a moment, but I didn't have much time to process my feelings on the matter. The sound of hissing and human-like meows started to form within the hall around the corner. All at once, more cat creatures came to try to catch me, one even crawling on the ceiling. I knew it would be foolish to fight, so I made a sprint as fast as I could for the door. Out of all of them, this door actually worked. It led out to the parking lot. I bolted out while the cats closed in, shouting, "Hurt me," their whole way. I put all of my energy into running towards the Batmobile up ahead, but as I got closer, I could see the damage. Something had wrecked the vehicle while I was in that hotel. The engine was torn to pieces, the tires were slashed, and the glass caved in. I took a small explosive pellet from my utility belt and tossed it behind me. The resulting bang stunned the creatures, allowing me to get into the wreckage of the Batmobile. I heard the shrieks of the man-bat get closer as I rummaged through to find his antidote. Just as I found it, I loaded it into an armored injector. I was grabbed by one of the creatures and pulled out. They began to converge on me, when the monstrous figure of the predatory man-bat became visible through the fog outside the opening, between the concrete parking lot layers. He definitely heard the explosion. He swooped in, and in my haste to escape, I pulled the cat creature closer into the path of the giant bat. Langstrom took the abomination in his grotesque jaws and carried her off, dragging me along with him, as the whip held on to my arm. He flew out of the next gap between layers, and took me along with him, as the cat kept screaming, "Why?" in Selena's voice. Thinking quickly, I used my free hand to clip on to the injector and get my grappling gun from my utility belt. I managed to place it in the hand of my captured arm. I held my aim as best I could with the man-bat's erratic flight pattern, and used my free hand to undo the whip from my other arm. Once free, I took a shot as I began to fall and caught my own snare on Langstrom. As he began to ascend into the sky, blotches of blood dripped off of his fangs and splattered against me. He was eating the creature caught in his mouth. My stomach churned as I heard Selena's cries through the fog before they suddenly stopped. The cat creature's body fell past me to the earth below. I held on for a while as he dove through the streets. Getting lower, I could see what gave the streets their distinctive orange glow. The jack-o'-lanterns were laden around the streets everywhere. The buildings were decorated with sickening Halloween decorations that weren't there when I entered the town. Frankenstein figures that seemed as though they were stitched together from real human body parts. Streamers made from the bloody skin. Some of the jack-o'-lanterns were even carved from heads. Amongst the disturbing imagery, one detail stuck out. Every street corner I could see held a single scarecrow, as if it was standing watch. We ascended back into the air and eventually flew into an area with no orange glow below. I tried to climb the cord to inject Langstrom, but he dove down again. This time, we were heading straight at trees. I couldn't get high enough in time to avoid them, so I had to take the alternative route. I reluctantly cut the cord and rolled onto the ground before crashing into a tree at the start of a forested area. That brings me to now. I am on my way to Celine's house to question her more about this town. Nothing about it is normal. She has to know more than she's letting on, and if Crane is really behind this, then I need to know everything I can. Batman out.